Father, please watch over us as we conduct the planning board meeting tonight for the town. Keep us energized and active and awake. I ask this in your name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You be seated. Okay, got a fairly quick agenda for the evening. We've been busy the last few months, so figured quick and easy tonight. Privilege of the floor. Bueller? No? Okay. Agenda, have it in front. I don't know of any changes unless anyone needs to add anything. If not, so.
I wanted to talk about the sidewalk.
Yes, I have answers for you.
Okay.
You need to add that to business?
We can add that under new business. So son law. Son law discussion.
I make a motion that we accept the agenda with that one modification.
Is that it? Second, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you. And thank you, Art. I actually meant to have that on here, but I'd already done this up beforehand. I forgot. So thank you. Angie sent out the minutes to everybody. I looked it over, didn't see anything, but if anyone wants to take a moment to read, if you get a chance.
Actually, believe it or not, I have a suggestion.
Okay.
I was going through the website, checking things, and I noticed that when, Ginny was the planning board person, you called her the planning board clerk. And on here, we said recording secretary, and I just thought that since there's an email address for a planning clerk, or this or that and the other thing, we should call me that instead of this.
Oh, there's an email address for that?
Yeah,
Didn't even know that.
So you're the clerk.
planning clerk.
And I apologize, because I.
Oh, that's all
I
right,
put down-
no, I didn't know either, like I said, I read over it.
Checked over minutes first,
Oh,
and I made a suggestion that she sign it.
It makes sense.
I guess about the only other thing would be, Kelly Sullivan's associate, I don't remember
I
his
don't
name.
remember his name.
In your communication with her,
Okay,
you can just ask and we can update
Okay,
that, and
got it.
that will go in the official record.
okay.
All right, if that's all, do I have a motion to approve, the minutes from April?
I make the motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Thank you, Art. Do I have a second?
Second the motion?
Thank you, Candy. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. All right. Correspondence, we have the trainings from Elaine that she's been sending. And I know there's a Planning Federation conference that I've seen on social media. It's not really a conference, it's just another training. But you can,
On Thursday.
yeah, it's late at night, 7 to 9 p.m. I think. Because I was surprised that it was late. Anyway, if you go to the Planning Federation website, you find that I didn't include that in correspondence because it was really
Is the Planning Federation national or just New York?
just New York. New York Planning Federation website.
No reason to have it that late.
Right, I agree.
If it's on the west coast, I mean, it's the whole
Yeah.
state.
That
the whole
could
country.
be for the, but,
Okay.
all right.
I attended two of the link trainings from NYSERDA.
Mhm.
I did the one on battery storage for.
Yep.
And I did the first one for more geared to code enforcement guys, but I didn't do the one in the middle because we already had the law.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the battery storage one I attended for a short time. A lot of it is, they were reading their website basically, from what I got out of it. So, all right, moving on to new business. Angie, you're up.
You guys didn't get your new name tags?
Apparently not.
Okay, so I talked to Billy yesterday or the
Oh,
day
okay.
before. He says they're ready, we just had to stop and pick them up.
Okay, that's what,
That's what they said last month.
Yeah, that's why I asked, I was like, geez, because the reason why I asked too is because he said, well, I guess there's drawers up there. He said you guys could just keep them in one of the drawers and then just pull them out every month. And
Yeah, they keep all from the side over there,
Yeah.
we have different files.
And so, I just wanted to check on this.
To see what's in our drawers here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, unfortunately, I did not get a code enforcement officer update, so I have nothing to present. So, moving to the town emergency operations and public health emergency plan. This took me a long time, very long time. The one that you have in front of you right now is not the latest one that I sent. I noticed when I printed it that a couple of the pages, the layout was off. So I went ahead and modified the layout, but I didn't change any of the wording. None of the pages moved around or anything, so I didn't reprint it again, but I just sent us another copy that has the header and everything in the proper position. So I want us to quickly go through it. I made all of the changes from our previous workshops and the last meeting. So if we just run through it really, really quick, make sure that I didn't miss anything. I removed all of the diagrams, the schematics, I updated all the page numbers to correspond with the headers. Yeah, I'm glad it's over.
Okay.
And then, if we can just do a quick conversation, I have my computer open to take notes, to make a list of recommendations for the board in correspondence to the emergency plan. So, preface, there was no changes to that. The table of contents, everything corresponds properly to the pages throughout. I have the correct date. I have the page numbers all working correctly on the bottom. That was fun. Because it was formatted through PDF to Word and it was missing a lot of the things, so it took some work. But we got it. The disaster response plan, excuse me, I have the never-ending cough. So if we just want to browse through this,
What page?
page 5. So make sure we don't have any, no viewers, okay. For those viewing or that will watch this, please contact me through my email at the web if you'd like a copy of the response plan, but also there should be a public hearing for this being held by the town board. I don't know if that'll be in this month, well, in June or July. So stay tuned for that, but we will be handing this to the town board once it's approved by the planning board. Remove under on page 6, C figure 1, I have to remove that. Under preparedness, I know I missed that, I thought I got them all. Funny thing, I kept the same font, but yet it looks different on so many pages. I don't understand that, because I changed it multiple times to the same thing. And it shows that it's the same thing, so.
Sometimes if you cursor into a part where it had the old thing, you'll pick that one up again.
Yep.
So the easiest way to do that is just copy the whole, highlight the whole thing and just hit the.
And I tried that too,
Yeah,
didn't fix it, I don't know why,
No,
no. Like responsibilities on page 7 there, at the top. I even took it over to another one where it looks normal, retyped it, it typed it in the font that it was there.
it's
As soon as it transferred it over there, it changed it back.
It's the same font, but
Yeah.
it's the same number of points.
Yep, same point, same everything.
One more thing I need to correct. It's on page 7.
Okay.
We got another thing you should.
Yeah, I
okay.
crossed that one out too. So this is one thing I wanted to ask also when I was doing it, on page 7, 2A, says acting supervisor. I didn't know if we wanted to change that to town supervisor. Because the town supervisor is the acting supervisor, but for consistency.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I'll change that.
Hold on a second. If we don't, if the emergency occurs and we don't have a town supervisor,
Then it follows the,
Then it goes to the
to the deputy supervisor,
what
and then,
happens if we appointed an acting supervisor?
Well, who's gonna appoint that?
Town board,
So the town supervisor,
leaves, dies, and I think they.
oh, still, the acting supervisor is then the acting town supervisor, so that would substitute, would replace.
Why don't you put town supervisor or acting supervisor? So it's actually two permanent refusal.
Doesn't really matter, with everyone else.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, and then I'll leave the next one, yeah.
About town slash
Yeah,
acting.
Yeah,
that's what
that's
I'm
fine.
thinking,
Good. Did anyone who'd like to put their few seconds ago, or?
Yep. Happens a lot in here. We get bad power. The voltage, that comes on this line, well, you're shoot off of it here, but, I have a voltage regulator because we've had our house killed a few times already. It's constantly around 125 to 135 volts.
Wow.
It's way too high.
Actually, 105 to 115.
I wonder why that is.
But when I called and asked, they said, they can't do anything if it's plus or minus 5 to 10% above. So that's considered regular.
I would just want to make it much further.
Under sequence of actions, I did the number 3 there, notification to official town newspaper, social media, radio, local news station, and town website per what we asked. The other thing that I wanted to ask on page 9, the very first sentence, when there is a need for mass care of persons, I was wondering if it'd be easier to say when there is a mass casualty event.
Right, that's the
Mitch.
Yeah.
EMS term. What paragraph is that?
It's the very first on page 9.
Okay.
You're gonna change it to say where there is.
When there is a mass casualty event, comma, the Red Cross is the recognized agency responsible.
I have a question for you. Going back, and I'm a little behind you guys, but when you have the order of succession, it goes right down to school personnel, we skip right over the planning board.
Yep.
Is that intentional, or is that something you wanna put in there?
We talked about that at
Yeah.
our workshop, and, it was talked that, there's planning board supersedes any of the sub-boards. We are not considered, we are not listed as mandatory or essential, whereas the school board is.
Okay.
So,
And I think our top part was that we have to push you for emergency, housing
Yeah.
or location and.
I agree with you, Art, I feel
I
that,
remember we talked about it, we were sitting down there.
but the town, and that could be one of our, comments, that the other boards can be used for assistance, but they need to notify and include that.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
No, no. We're here for it.
I'm just, there's certain things I wanna make sure we put on there.
Hmm?
Sometimes you want.
It's your copy, so.
Yeah. So, this has nothing to do with it, so we don't have a town, cap at all, we only have a village cap now, is that correct?
He's paid by the village, but he responds as a sheriff's deputy in the area when he's the first, if he's the closest.
Okay.
Just like the state police would do that too.
Okay, I just wondered.
But he's technically the village police,
Okay, yeah.
village Candor inspector.
Okay.
But he's on a lot of our EMS calls, so,
Yeah.
early in the morning, middle of the night, whenever he's.
Mhm.
I'm moving way ahead, but on page 11, I'm just realizing I don't like the way this is reading for documentation. The maintaining of logs by EOC staff and all town of Candor departments, it should be logs shall be maintained by EOC staff and all.
Do we want to leave that as respond to the situation, or do we want that to respond to emergency or disaster?
I think the situation covers more, but it is a disaster plan and public health emergency. Utilize to respond to situation. So the incident,
To me, that documentation would include, if there isn't an emergency, but they contacted the Red Cross to make sure they have things set up, that's documented that they've done it.
so that's covered under the situation. I'm okay with that. On page 12, I consolidated this. This is the only area where I actually made the font 0.5 smaller, so I could fit it all on one. This was a screenshot. So I had to re-categorize everything here.
You gotta retype it pretty much.
Well, most of the document I ended up having to retype. But this one especially, because the columns, I had to make the headers, and everything work, but I deleted, what we had asked at our last meeting, got rid of all of those, and made the few that were listed as non-essential to essential, and the one that we had listed as non-essential
Dan?
Yes, that would be a highway employee. I don't know how they're categorized, so.
Right.
So they have summer highway employees, that means they break it, that group down.
Right.
Summer
And why is it
mower
mechanic,
operator.
different than a mechanic or?
Right. Oh, we can just get rid of following now if we want.
No, but you have the mower operator who would be non-essential. So, like, specifying, you are saying, no, you're essential.
Yeah.
All the
Oh,
employees
okay.
are not.
Right.
I didn't read part,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
They could have made that person essential because it's a title where they can drive a truck and you would be a truck out doing something, but just, yeah.
Could be. And remember, a lot of this was copied from another
Yeah.
town, so.
You have station employees on page. 13.
No, actually, I don't. That's part of the font issue. I know. I will check it one more time though, Art.
Okay, I'm
But-
just, it's just,
Yeah, I know, it drives me crazy. Yeah.
hopefully,
It drives me crazy, but I will try a different font there, just to see if I can get it changed, because it drives me nuts.
I'm laughing with you, I had that
Yeah.
trouble sometimes too.
Because I missed a period. Page 14, the very end of paragraph 3.
not accurate. Section, yeah.
Yeah, section
So
3.
a lot of this is, this next part on page 15 is basically you're allowed to code it.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
that's why we're doing this, right?
Right. Well, that was one of the main, yeah.
main reasons.
So on page 14, I added, after respirators, in under 4, the second paragraph, starting with additionally. We had talked about respirators at our meeting, and we agreed to put following OSHA requirements, therefore it covers whatever.
You already added that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I'm saying,
I wonder if it would make sense for me to actually start the paragraph saying, following OSHA requirements, PPE could include, but not, that way it covers
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's much better.
maybe that's what we should just move that to more of an important.
so don't put in paragraph, in parentheses, then.
No, yeah, make it
Make
an
it
actual
more.
sentence.
So is that the first sentence?
No, it's not gonna be the first sentence, it's gonna be the, start of the second sentence in that second paragraph.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that better, that way everything in that sentence is following OSHA.
And as things change to OSHA, that changes too.
Correct.
Right, yep.
We're covering our bases.
Now you need radiation foils,
Oh, jeez.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
For a while there, I was ready to wrap my house in, plastic and aluminum foil.
Huh.
You don't remember that? But years ago.
And just like down here on page 15, our, under workplace disinfection, the will, that one drives me crazy too.
Yeah,
Oh,
word
yeah.
disinfected. It's
Yeah.
almost like, where they pull that from.
Justification, it's a, is it a justification of time?
Justification, but it's not, because the lines aren't lined up on the end.
No.
Right,
That's what I was just gonna say, it looks like justification.
Yeah. but it's not. Believe me, I've tried a number of things.
You think if it was because of the letters, the I, L, I, and utilize would have done the same
Right.
thing.
Right.
That's okay. It's the faucet.
You would think after 20+ years, Microsoft could put out something that was, oh well.
All right, anyone else? I know our here. Anybody else find anything other than the couple of changes that we've made? Okay, so let me get my typing hands ready again. And we will start our list here for the town board. First and foremost, they need a personnel flowchart.
Especially when that one we're doing, I almost that kind of, right.
We want to also suggest a, county flow chart. They're probably gonna say we want you to do it.
Well, the county flow chart, I mean, every flow chart's gonna be a little bit different, but it just needs, somebody needs to be responsible to update it.
And that's what I think that's really where we're gonna be. That it's not our responsibility to continue to do these. We've handed you our documents. Now it's the town's responsibility to do this, whether it be on a big piece of paper or whatever. I don't care if it's professional or not.
Is this gonna be in an appendix?
No, this is what we're gonna actually hand them.
We're gonna hand them and say, these are some recommendations or suggestions that we need to look
So,
at.
when they put the appendix in, I know we talked about that too, they should put the name, address, and phone number of all these contacts, so they're not trying to figure out, oh, what's Mike Simmons' phone number, I
So
don't know.
personnel
I got
flow
that.
chart with,
Address, telephone numbers, all.
Yeah.
Contact information.
with contact information. I'll do the same for county flow chart with contact information.
And that's nice to do this, but somebody needs to be responsible
Dating it.
updating it.
Yeah.
Because you know the county flow chart's gonna change, ours gonna change. They need to put that maybe in somebody's job description. That's what we mean. Well, the board has administrative support. Exactly.
And they should do it at least annually at the meeting, even if it's not up to date,
Right.
every change, at least once a year, it's been corrected.
But what I'm saying is, nobody's gonna do it unless they actually tell somebody they have to do it.
It needed, they needed designated person.
It needs to be in.
I'm actually gonna put a bullet right now. So how do we wanna put this as a bullet? And I'll make that the final bullet. All items listed shall
Have a designated
Should.
person.
have a designee from the town responsible for updating on a yearly basis or whenever
Appropriate.
things change or whenever appropriate, yeah. I like appropriate. Okay, that way we're covered under that as well. Okay, so we have personnel flow chart with contact information, county flow chart with contact information. Start rattling stuff off and I will type.
We need to have a preparedness training disaster response plan. I mean, we're indicating here who's gonna be responsible to do that, but do we actually have a plan, and are we gonna practice a plan before we have a disaster?
So preparedness disaster response plan.
Yeah.
Training, practice, training.
Training.
I don't know how we wanna.
Training.
Yet, but.
Training or, simulation,
Yes.
training / simulation.
But with that said, we also need to include our fire department, our police, we need to be able to work with them.
Right.
If we, in the school, if we have to do that.
Include all agencies listed.
Remember when we said to do the DWI, mock DWI every couple of years? We have the fire department, police department, state police, coroner, the sheriff, we had EMS, everybody coordinated the school. And so it's not that hard to do, you just have to fill call, we can't come. But other than that, everyone else can.
All right, so I put preparedness, disaster, response training, simulation, and then sub-bullet to that, include all agencies listed within documents. Okay, next.
Actually, the first one, the personnel flowchart, should you say EOC personnel, because otherwise, will the board just think you're talking about the town employees and not everybody, because I'm assuming with the personnel.
So emergency operations plan.
Yeah, something like that, just, because otherwise, like I said, the town might think that.
Plan, personnel,
Yeah.
flow chart with contact information. That makes sense.
Thank you. I tried.
We talked earlier, Art, you had suggested working with the fire and EMT to identify a social tone.
Right.
And so that, we have to incorporate that somehow, and this is a recommendation.
That is part of the plan itself.
Mm-hmm.
That way people know to turn your radio on.
Exactly.
Oh, so you're talking about, disaster indicator tone?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even if it comes on text messages too, that'd be good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Siren would be the main one,
Yeah, and right now it goes off every noon, because it has to be tested every day,
Right.
so that's.
except for Sunday.
Doesn't it go like that on Sunday? Okay.
So how should I write that other than disaster indicator, siren slash tone?
Mm-hmm.
And that'll only know.
Yeah, we need a
Unique, that's the word I was looking for.
Establish
Establish a unique, I like that.
But if we ever do this, we need to let people know. Well, that's part of,
part of
yeah, because getting
the
literature
training,
and communication out to community. Yeah, because I don't want people freaking out on our either, so, right.
I mean, you hear the, like the other night, the fire was going off, it was the thing, the big fire in Spencer.
Uh-huh.
Then it went off again with it's different, the second time when it goes off. I used to think that was for a call, but it's not. I don't know if you ever noticed that.
Okay, so establish a unique disaster indicator, siren tone.
And I like the text message indicator. I mean, I don't know how, people would have to opt into that. Yes, they would. And I don't know what it would cost to. I don't know, but that would be something sensitive.
Station alert.
I mean, we do that at Cornell. I mean, we
I
can
put-
take alerts.
I put a sub to that, text notification alert system with a question mark, just to, like, you guys figure that one out. Just,
No term, what is Cornell? So.
yeah, Cornell alert.
So don't they have text messages to everybody?
Yeah. Or sign up.
Yeah, you have to sign up for it.
Yeah, you sign up for it. You can get a call to your, you can indicate multiple phone numbers, contact, and get a text.
You can sign up to New York State for disaster text too, so things happen.
Yeah,
Text alert.
okay.
But that might depend on the 911 system.
I get those like 2 or 3 times a day about fire hazards.
We talked several times about, there's reference to an appointed emergency coordinator. Yes. We need to recommend that they determine who that is.
Determine and appoint emergency coordinator. As listed.
So we've got,
All right, Ed, congratulations on what you got.
okay, we got an appointed emergency coordinator, and then we also have a public information officer.
Right, that's two different ones. We need a public information officer, so that
So
they.
just put down and public information officer.
Okay, and public information officer.
So I know some agencies, like the fire department, the ambulance squad, and probably the school already have those.
Right.
Public, what is it again?
Information
Information officer.
Officer as listed.
You might put down determine and appoint an emergency coordinator and a public information officer as listed, because you already said that one.
Determine and appoint an emergency coordinator and a public information officer as listed.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Okay,
What I have, not the same thing, there's something in here about an emergency notification list.
yeah, I think that's part of our flow
Is that our
chart
flow chart or is that-
diagram.
okay.
Because that would say, if A isn't there, then we move to B, and then and so on and so forth down the tier.
So we've talked about how we need to work with other organizations
Mhm.
like,
Oh, that was
Fire
a
department.
contact and, yeah.
and like the emergency squad, the fire department, the village, because the village is, I'm sure they have an emergency plan.
Contact and, share document with,
Yeah.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
Share documents with agencies listed within, so they are aware of responsibilities. Does that work?
Yeah, we've got here, the fire department sitting there about traffic, well,
Yep.
they don't know that, well, they
Right.
do, but, I mean, they know things, but they do it.
You wanna put the section number in there, the section
You have to,
two, responsibility section?
So there's whole tickets.
They haven't sold out of their barbecues, they don't even have to worry about that, people come up and buy it too.
yeah, so last year we were sold out the Friday, a week before.
That's not,
Traditionally, we're always sold out by the Wednesday or Thursday of.
yeah.
But this year we have about 100 tickets, as of, and I was there yesterday.
Fifty as of this morning, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll sell. We're always up in my.
The problem is that, I mean, I sold all my tickets, plus I got some extra ones, and I turned them in my money today. Let's say Ed has 10 tickets, but he only sold 6. So we have to know that they're available.
Yeah, we do that for snowmobile club, it's, when it gets on,
So currently, only 46 centers left, not counting what people may have in their hands. Good information, Angie.
What should I call this document? Recommendations from planning board?
you really want them to,
I don't have the recommendations, but there are things that,
things you need to think of, or you need.
the things that need to happen in order for this emergency preparedness plan to be.
Suggestions for success?
Yeah.
That sounds good.
I don't know if that's strong enough. Well, I don't know what else to say that doesn't
We're
sound.
really advisory to the town board.
Right.
Yeah,
We've provided them everything, we've also given them suggestions of what they need to look into, and it's really gotta be in their court to do it.
And this will be posted on the website with.
So my question now is, when we get this done, is the state through Homeland Security will help us do this plan. I'm suggesting that after we get our part done, before we turn it into the town, we send it to the state and say, here's our plan, what do you think? And they think if it's good, or they have some suggestions, or they may say it's terrible, you got all this stuff, so we'll have to work with them. I think that's,
I think that's.
before we go to the town,
So
and then,
before we give them this,
before we give it to the town.
We wanna make sure that the
State.
state.
Otherwise, we'll go to the town, and then we'll find out that, well, we did all that work, and they did all that work, and
No, that's a good point.
And it may encourage them more strongly to do what really should be done.
so in other words, we get this done, we send this, when you update it, we send it to the state, let them review it and see, is there anything we are missing?
suggestions they have, and then if it's just tweaks, that's great, we'll tweak it. But if it's really terrible, we're missing lots, they work with Spencer on theirs, and people come, like, they come to our meeting, or workshop or our meeting, and they sit and work with us for whatever number of weeks it was.
So how long do we have to get this done, how soon
They
do they want
wanted
it?
They wanted it yesterday.
Okay, so we don't have all that time. We can ask them to, have we looked at the Spencer?
I was gonna ask that. Is Spencer public?
I asked for it and I never
Is
received
it on their website?
Who'd you ask for? Who'd you ask?
the mayor.
Who is the mayor?
Oh, God, I forget his name. I met with, Lynn Jardine
meeting the other day?
Didn't even know, wasn't invited,
So my question is,
it was only board members, I believe. Their website's not updated, so
oh, okay.
What about your, Jim Tortelli?
I
He's
would
very
say,
responsive.
well, I will present not this to the board, I can hand them this with the addendum
Mhm.
that we have sent or submitted this to the state, awaiting further response and suggestions. But this is what we have so far. But we want to ensure that it meets all the state requirements for emergency preparedness and public health.
Perfect.
Yeah, the state will come to us. That's just like, what's the place did, you know, it's terrible. They look at what they copied.
So you know what? And they're down at Castle and read on the website, so I'll turn around and look at it tonight, and then I'll read through it, see if there's anything like, did they have someone come in, do you know that?
I don't know if they did or not, but Jim is really on top of things.
Okay.
As a mayor, he used to be on the planning board with the county.
Let me look at it, but,
Okay.
and see if there's anything that,
And who would submit it to the state? I mean, who's,
We could, I mean, who?
yeah, but
I could physically do it if you wanted me to.
I would be okay with that if you wanted to take that responsibility. If anyone else has a
So when it's all finished, let me know, and I'll send it off to the state.
I'll make the changes in the next 24 hours and
and
then.
I'll look to see if there's anything that just stands out or
Yeah.
is different.
Yeah, and then we can submit it, and we still have our list for the town.
Yeah, because that stuff's important anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so far, emergency operations plan, EOC, personnel flowchart with contact information, county flowchart with contact information, preparedness disaster response training simulation, include all agencies listed within document. Establish a unique disaster indicator siren tone with a text notification alert system. Determine and appoint an emergency coordinator and public information officer as listed. Contact and share documents with agencies listed within, so they are aware of responsibilities. All items listed should have a designee from the town responsible for updating on a yearly basis or whenever appropriate. That's what we got so far.
So we did put something about public hearing date. Is the public hearing to approve this emergency plan or just?
Because it would go into our, like, almost as if it's a law. So it would have to get feedback from the town residents. Because ultimately, it's their tax dollars that are paying for the responses.
And there are a lot of smart people out there that give us ideas, things we didn't think about.
Yep.
Right, right.
But yes, that is a state requirement for them to hold.
So that's the public input.
Yep.
And that's required.
And they know that, well, we don't need to put that in.
Well, no, we better tell them.
I
They
tell
don't
them
know.
every,
They don't know.
I tell them
So then
every
we
time.
should add that then, that there needs to be a public hearing.
It doesn't have to be on this list, but when I submit this to them via email, I always include, please schedule a public hearing for your next meeting to meet the.
Now,
How quickly or how much of a quick turnaround will they give us the state?
Document this small,
yeah, I don't,
it should take maybe a month.
I don't think it's a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
I may do it if you might. Solution,
Mm-hmm.
and, yeah, maybe I can fast track. I'm not saying it will or not, but.
Try it,
I'll try it.
yeah.
You have some contact resources?
Well, our county representative. So, anything else that we could think of? If more comes up as you're home, just, then I'll add it to the list, because we're obviously not gonna be presenting this at the next meeting for them, the list. But,
And
Yeah.
when you send that to the town board, could you CC the webmaster?
I always do.
I know, just remind them, because sometimes they send me a PDF, and it's okay to put that up, but it's good to put up the Word one too, because people can read through it, or they can, well, you get where I'm going, but.
Yeah.
So, and like you say, you take a PDF and try to turn it into Word file, it doesn't always work good.
All right, so, moving on then, Tioga County Economic Development. I had a, meeting with Tioga County Economic Development representative and also Elaine Jardine on Monday morning. We discussed the potential for a, public sewer and water project, for infrastructure throughout the town and village, because their system is in serious need of maintenance. And really what it comes down to, without support from the town board and finances, I'm dead in the water. So I asked them to get me information on what kind of costs I'd be looking at that I would need to ask the board for. They're working on that, for me. But there are a lot of grants out there right now that are paying for this. And funny enough, if anyone gets the Candor Chronicle, Tioga County just got 25 million, I think it was, for infrastructure, and we aren't part of it because we weren't, I don't know.
We didn't ask.
We didn't ask, I guess.
So, if I remember right from some of the other places, they're paying about 1/5, which is quite a bit in a multi-million-dollar project. But grants, now, I always thought you only get one grant. Copernic.
Oh, yeah, you can.
Copernic has been getting grants for the HVAC, and they got 60,000 from them, and they're getting 20 from them, and got 15, okay. We just keep asking different agencies.
Yep. Well, when I talked to them about it, it wasn't, we're doing this. What I'm looking for at the moment, what I'm looking for at the moment is just a feasibility study. Because there's no use doing any commitment if there's no possible way that we can do it.
Right.
So that's really what I asked them for. What would our costs be for a feasibility study? How much match would we need to do a feasibility study? They talked about different options. You know, the Owego does have a larger sanitary sewage than what, you know, they need. How would we incorporate that? Where would the lines be? And I said, you know, really just stick with 96 and 96B at the time. Where would we get the water from? Would we need a water treatment plant? I said, that's what the engineers would have to tell us. I honestly don't know the answer to that. And so really that's where I'm at. So hopefully they'll be able to give me an idea of cost, and then I'll start slowly working that into the town board and seeing if we can get a feasibility study done. It is concerning to me, and that, you know, when I mentioned it to the town board, I was a little, you know, different feedback from different members. So,
You're always gonna get different
Yeah.
feedback from others.
Yeah.
But you also, that's something that would have to go to the town, because it does affect the town.
correct.
Because, what big circle are we looking at? Because town of Candor is huge.
Right.
I mean, you say 96, 96B, I get that. Is it go down towards the Owego 96, 96B? Are people interested in it? Are they not? Because
Right.
that is an issue.
And that's why you have to do a
Land
feasibility
available for
study.
development.
Right.
Uh,
It is, but
No.
there's a lot of people in our community that don't want to develop. So that's where, I mean, you remember many years ago when they had this big uproar in school because they were gonna develop this big,
Watch,
and that just really pulled
that's how
out.
come up here.
Huh?
That's how come up here.
I mean, that came into a big hoopla. So I'm just warning you that you're in a community too, that some want and some don't, and,
I completely understand.
yeah.
And that's why as part of, that's why you have to do a feasibility study. And the feasibility study will, incorporate, you know, mailers to those
Right.
residents that will be affected. And that's part of the process to find out, is it feasible? And
Yeah.
hence the feasibility study.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I know, but I mean,
Yeah.
I just don't want anybody to get, you know, dead down around.
Yeah, no.
We're gonna get some people, yeah, and some people are not.
Right.
And that's,
That's gonna be tax money.
Well, especially when, yeah, I mean, people are gonna be very sensitive to even more.
But people have to, you have to also tell them that once we have sewer in particular, we'll be able to get more tax base in Canada.
Plus,
So there would have been a medical center
yep,
right over there, except for there was no sewer.
just like we would also have a market, because Aldi's was interested, from what I heard.
So,
But
you
wouldn't
know,
do it
so
because
those
there's
are
no
things
sewer.
that would give, so that would mean that we would pay less taxes because the ice cream stand is gonna pay more. Not specifically now, but I mean,
I
Yeah.
think Thursdays, let's say more.
you already paid that.
And the trailer park and everything else.
Yeah, so it's all a process, and I mean, this is not gonna happen in the next, 2 years. We're probably gonna be at
Oh,
2 or 3 town board changes over
by the
by the
time
time
we
we
get to
actually
it,
would get to it. But it is something that if you want to move forward, we're gonna need it. And it is part of the, renewal act. I mean, the state's even putting the funds to put it in everywhere. Plus you'll also gain access to fire hydrants, which is a big thing. So everyone's homeowner's insurance that doesn't have a fire hydrant within quarter of a mile, 600 feet, whatever it is, that will drop your homeowner's insurance significantly. So,
Yeah, they used to pump that in, they're not allowed to do that.
yeah, they can't do that anymore, so. So anyway, that's that.
So the other thing, talk about the water. The water in the village, which I get, you get, and you get too, you know?
No, because, I think we're the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is treated, okay, they add some chemicals to it.
It's horrible.
Alright, so, but years ago, when the water was up on the reservoir itself, Candor won the New York State Award at the State Fair a couple of times for having the best water. So we have good water here. The problem with the reservoir was, it was an open pit. And when a deer jumped in and died in the ground in the pit, it caused the state to freak and they had, so that's when they built the trade thing across the road.
All right, well, thank
So,
you.
so I'm saying, we do have water available and good water.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
All right, so now moving on to the, sign law discussion. The Art did contact me earlier last week, notifying me, and I was well aware of, down in Catatonk, the one church has put in an LED sign.
Yeah.
And Art's question was, does that fall under our sign law?
So we
Or
had
is there exemptions and things? The answer from when I looked into it, basically it's on their property, so they can do whatever they want as long as it does not affect drivers, and
Because I think
the
people
DOT.
complain about being too bright. So I don't know, but the fire one there too is too
Yeah.
bright.
Yeah,
We've addressed that, but.
yep, so I don't know if they got a permit, I haven't checked with that, to see if I don't know how that works. DOT, I don't know if they do reviews on that, I honestly don't know.
We specifically have a ruling against electronic billboards, electronic signs, in the sign law.
Well, and this one is the Legion.
Right,
And there's
but
one
certain
here.
areas are exempt,
Oh.
but the school is, but the school's in the village. The town could put one in, because they're exempt, but I could remember if we made churches, I think the fire department's exempt, so the ambulance squad would be exempt too, but that's also the village. But I don't remember if,
I thought we did away with that. I thought we did away with the digital, we made it inclusive. So here's the definitions. Exclusions for the purpose of this law, the term sign does not include signs erected and maintained pursuant to and in discharge of any governmental function or required by any law, ordinance, or governmental regulation, nor does it include flag, emblems, or symbols of nation, governmental bodies, schools, nor memorial tablets or historical markers, nor does it include posters or signs of a temporary nature erected or placed for a period of not more than 30 days. No sign or billboard shall be erected, installed, placed, or relocated within the town without first obtaining a permit from the town code enforcement officer. Application of such permit must be made on a form provided by the town clerk. A fee for such application shall be set by resolution of the town board, and such application shall contain notice of the fee to be charged. Newly erected or installed off-premises signs. No off-premises signs or billboards shall be erected, or existing sign or billboard relocated, which has a surface area in excess of 50 square feet with no side more than 12 feet in length. No off-premises sign or billboard shall be erected within 500 feet of an already existing sign. Illuminated signs. Any sign, whether on or off premises, if illuminated, shall employ only light emitting constant intensity, and no sign shall be illuminated by or containing flashing, intermittent, rotating, or moving lights that cause distraction. In no event shall an illuminated sign or lighting device be placed or so directed as to permit the beams of illumination therefrom to be directed or beamed upon a public street, highway, sidewalk, navigational waterway, or air corridor, or premises adjacent to any of these as to cause glare or reflection that will constitute a traffic hazard or nuisance. So it's not that we restrict them, it's that they can't be, you know, flashing or, you know, special. The kind that's there, in my mind, does not fall under those. However, I don't know if they got a permit. So that,
It would have been a delicate situation anyway, because they already did it, it's already installed. But the other part of that is, if we do that, then Candy's gonna wanna put one up and say, well, I got one I wanna put up for my business, and you already have one, you know, so.
Aren't there two things going on? Because if this is the road, and they put the sign facing this way, if it flashes when you go by, would you consider that a hazard?
it doesn't flash though.
Okay, good.
It just changes.
It changes.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
word,
Okay,
word
it
rotation.
changes, it's not like,
It talks about the hours of their service
Yeah.
and,
some
you
of
know,
them do this,
yeah.
you know.
Some of the ones I've seen in other states, particularly Pennsylvania, the billboards at night are so bright and glaring for like the casinos and stuff, and they're like distracting, and if your eyes are accustomed to the dark, and all of a sudden you get that bright sign.
Well, we're gonna have to update the sign law, folks. It's missing sections. It goes from section 6 to section 8.
Really?
Yeah. Not under my watch.
All right, sign law, well, what
I know,
was that?
a long time ago.
Okay, maybe I read it in the book, I
You
don't
know
know.
when the sign law got written, remember when they put up the double billboard up in Wilsonville?
Sign law, year 1991?
That can't be right.
Why not?
Because we did it when Bill Leonard was.
We did.
Are you sure you, never mind.
Maybe somebody else gets the data on
Maybe
almost.
the version you have is not the most current.
Well, no, because we added the digital.
Okay.
I know we added that, because that was the illuminated signs. That was not in there.
Why is that thing not gonna, well, wait.
So I'll check back in the records too, and,
Did you just look at the one on the website?
that's what I'm reading. It says adopted adopted July 2nd, 1991.
That's what it is.
We'll start calling you Rosie for deleting parts.
No, no, this is the second time I think this has come up, that log just won't stick. And I'm like, what is going on?
There's some errors in this.
What is
Spelling errors.
going on?
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
What section is this in? Or,
Section 7, it jumps from section
You're right.
6 to section 8.
oh,
Hopefully this needs to be reformatted.
good language. I will look at that tonight as soon as I get home and see what's going on. Actually, I can probably look now, hold on.
All right.
Well, we know that we gotta edit that, I get that.
Well, what I would, tomorrow I'll come down and make sure the one in the book, the actual book out here is right.
It's a small law, it shouldn't take us long to make any updates and changes to it, so I'll add that to the agenda.
So should we ask and see if Paul got it, or if we take out from that, I guess that's the first thing before we go any farther, if he got that from it.
So I'll check with Paul Tubbs and Jim Douglas.
Oh, we have to need enough, room in there. Paul is, the room's getting sloppy. I mean, he has stuff on top of the file cabinet and yeah. I talked to Bill talked to me about, you know, almost getting out of the office there. I said, oh, we need the file cabinets in there. Paul, I think it's more neat. So I don't know if that's, Angie, something you can do?
Okay. Usually when you're organized.
Not so much in the cabinet, but the stuff that's sitting on top, it's like, I didn't.
So Bill contacted you?
Okay.
Bill
I met him
contacted
at the gas station, and we were talking, that's why I knew about the signs, and he said about, the room in there.
So it's
Not,
that,
he didn't contact me.
Yeah, it was,
so my question is, we got something in that room that he likes to.
there's years and stuff.
I'll put it
That's where we keep all,
Are
files.
your files?
There are 2 file cabinets, have you sit in there?
I honestly think, we don't use this closet, it's got that old TV, you know, there's a lot of old stuff in there. But the file cabinet
Well,
is
we
there.
used to have, we used to be able to use the room next to the judge's down there, the storeroom.
Yep.
And we had this great, huge soil map sign that was like worth a lot of money, really good. So you could look at a piece of property and see exactly what type of soil it had there, we could determine whether or not it would be good for this or that. They threw that away.
Oh, my God.
Wow, that's terrible. I'm sure it changes, but, you know, still. All right, anyway, let's, move on, old business. So, Board of Appeals law, presented it to the board. There should be a public hearing at their meeting next week. And then that should finally be updated and changed. That's all I got.
Okay.
Oh, well, actually, it's not all I got. First, a workshop, I don't see us needing one for,
No.
for May, so, does anyone wanna
I make a motion, we cancel the May workshop.
I second it.
second? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, canceling the, May workshop. And I'm just giving you a heads up right now. I will be out of town in August. I will be in Alaska, so. I'm going-
Well, we probably could just cancel the meeting.
Possibly, otherwise Ken's gonna run the show. So, all right, with that, that's all I got. Anyone else?
Maybe out in August.
August, yep.
Yep.
Heads up now.
Okay.
All right, do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
And I second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. 8:04. Thank you.
8:05. 8:04. So why don't you take a look in the room over there,